From Sound Zero Studios, we're live at the Secret Hideout. We've got the inside connection to the Valley of the Sun's hottest musicians and artists. We encourage you to like, share, and subscribe to everyone you see here tonight and take you now to the Secret Hideout.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Secret Hideout Show. Today we'll be interviewing a local rapper and spoken word performance artist, a man who is honestly far better at my job than I am. You've seen him at many of his Poetic Soul performances around the Valley, at open mics, and various other rap shows. Give it up for Eric Clausen.
Back in violent grins, hands preoccupied with tiny violins. Brooding while I brew my coffee, to this music made me cocky. Waxing like I trained Miyagi. Won't somebody please come stop me? Rapping like I caught a body, drop it from the tippy toppy. Watch it falling, hit the concrete, splattermatic, keep it on beat.
So tell us, Eric, where did you first start in the music scene?
Well, actually, I first started getting doing work in music at around like 7th or 8th grade is when I figured out that I loved poetry and writing.
Okay.
It kind of just like all of a sudden became this release for me where I hated it and hated it and hated it up until about 7th and 8th grade. And I had this teacher who was like, you have to write things, like you have to do your homework. Like you can't just like write something at the top of the page and turn it in and accept the F. Like you have to actually try. So I finally like attempted writing and I found out that I loved it and like decided I would like figure out some way to get involved in music, but I was too terrified to be on stage. So I was trying to find, like initially I tried to find I had this talent for writing and like I loved doing it and like I enjoyed melody and like all that stuff, but I hated the idea of being on stage.
Okay.
So, but I still wanted to be involved in music. So I tried to like learn guitar or like learn something that I could like hide behind for performance. And I got involved in my first metal band with, Luke Holland.
Yeah.
So me and him, his older sister was like a friend of mine through elementary school, and like I posted something on MySpace one day about like wanting to start a metal band.
MySpace.
Yeah, and he was 12 at the time, and he like messaged back and he was like, "Hey, my favorite band is Under Oath. I'd love to be in your band."
Still just murdering drums even then.
Oh my god, still like absolutely one of the best drummers I've ever seen. Even at that time, like we auditioned him for our band, which was a joke, but like we basically we showed up at his garage and we were like, what can you do, because we didn't know anything about a band either. And he did this crazy it's like he played an Under Oath song and we were all like blown away like immediately. And so like that's how I got kicked off in like my first band. But problem was I was terrible. Luke was incredible, and we ended up finding like a bunch of other musicians which were equally incredible. And but like I didn't know anything about how to like be on stage. Like all I could do was write pretty words.
Okay.
And so like I battled through that for a little while, and eventually they were like, yeah, there's not really anything for you to do here, so we're gonna get a different vocalist. And I was like, yeah, I get it. That sucks, but I get it.
That was your first band?
That was my first band.
In 08 or so, you said?
That was
2010-ish.
Yeah, 08.
Right?
Yeah. And so like it was after that happened, I figured, I'm terrified of singing, but I love metal. Like I got like introduced to it through The Devil Wears Prada.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I figured out like how to, I just like listened to them for hours and like screamed into my pillow, like tried to figure out how to do what they were doing. And when it finally clicked, I met up with this other band who was like working out of like a local church, because I was heavily involved in the church at the time. And I got involved with this like band that was working out of like a youth group there. And I tried out for them. Like it went fantastic. Like we started playing all these shows together. Like we had at one point we just started like piling people into our band. We had like 7 or 8 people.
Okay. And
like we just had like these really high energy live shows that like were just a ton of fun.
I think I actually might have played a show with you guys. I was in that group,
chance.
Seven Will Fall, for a little bit.
There's a really good chance.
Flyers. Yeah.
When Oceans Will Part was like going real strong, like and then like our drummer at one point dropped out and like jumped up as a second vocalist, and then we got Luke back in that. So that was like how I like actually got to play with Luke, But so we did that for a little while, and then
lots of shows.
Yeah. We played shows like maybe 2 or 3 a month at one point. Yeah,
we were
we were constantly playing. So we were really committed to making it work and stuff. Like at one of the last shows we played, it was like one of our first like touring shows.
Okay.
And we went down to Yuma and played a show out there, which was one of the most fun shows I've ever played in my life. Because
heard good things from that area.
We did not play at a venue. We played in a park with some
nice.
PA speakers and like under a ramada, and we had like 200 kids just around us, like a circle pit. It was the coolest show I've ever played. And then what they told us afterwards is they're like, yeah, it doesn't really matter who shows up because there's nothing else for us to do out here. So like they just were excited that people showed up to play a show for them, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah, but also at the time like Luke was starting to gain traction with his YouTube stuff, and so like more people did show up for that and stuff. Like he had like his own crowd behind his pit, and then we were out front playing and stuff, and so. But that was really like my first like real dive into music, was doing that stuff. It eventually fell apart, you know, like as I'm sure you've experienced. Yeah. Like it doesn't really matter. You can have all the talent, all the drive in the world and stuff like that, but sometimes things just don't click. Like we just didn't have perfect chemistry in our band and stuff. And so that ended up falling apart and stuff. But like I eventually made my way out towards rap because I tried a couple other bands and that kind of thing, but I loved that every group that I worked with was super talented, but getting 5 egos to work cohesively is so difficult.
That's a hell of a chore for sure.
Exactly, yeah. And like it was just so frustrating because I love music so much, and like every project that I worked with did have just an immense like a talent pool. And I'm obviously biased, the people I worked with, and I loved them, you know. But like it's seriously, it was so discouraging to like work so hard at these songs and you know, practice as much as we did and play all these shows and
then just have it kind of
just fall apart. Over situations that didn't need to be problems, you know, like small arguments that turned into big arguments, or just like little things, you know, like that just happen, you know. Unfortunately, like musicians are all super insecure, you know, like
they're like rabbits. They're all very timid and kind of bounce back and forth.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, you know, we all have our issues and stuff. And so I guess I just kind of like got to the point where I decided I wanted to do my own stuff. And I figured I write like poetry all the time. I figured I'd try to stick it to a beat and see what happened.
Okay.
And that's how all this other stuff happened.
So in cue your one take video, let's talk about that a little bit, because when I saw that, it blew my mind.
Yeah,
I was like, this guy's in Arizona. Really?
Yeah, yeah. That was honestly a ton of fun. That one actually happened like spur of the moment. So I actually like before that had recorded an entire EP that I still haven't released. I have about 10 to 12 songs that no one has like that are recorded, ready to go, that no one else has heard, because I just like I'm trying to figure out the route
in where they go.
Exactly. Okay. Or like I also have that problem that I'm sure you understand, like where you make a new song and you hate all your old shit.
Yeah.
You know, like it just like you're like, oh my God, like I was a child when I made that song. Now I'm an adult and I know what I'm doing, you know?
So this one take thing was for a contest, right?
Yeah. So I had all this material prepared to release, and then I saw like a Facebook ad pop up for Futuristic's one take video contest. Okay. And I just figured, like it just popped up, and it just felt like I'd been wrestling with trying to figure out the way to like release my music and like introduce myself to the world as a rapper. Okay. Yeah, because I had people who knew that I was a musician in metal and that kind of stuff, but like I was being really low key about the rap stuff until I knew that's what I wanted to do, or like how I wanted to release it, or how I wanted to go about it and stuff. And so the one take video, I was like, this is the perfect opportunity. Like this is a thing that I'm going to be forced to like advocate for. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
like
and you talk about it in the video, how you feel like you have something to prove and you got to get it out there and put something out there.
Yeah. Well, and the first line of the song is like, I'm like a ghost in the room. Nobody knows who I am. So I got something to prove. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and so that was kind of like, I was like, this is perfect. You know, I had about half of that song written when I found out about the contest.
Nice.
And then like in 2 days, I finished that song, tracked it, and then like set up a meeting with John to shoot the video for it. Like as soon as I heard about the ad, I was like, this is exactly what I need to do.
Another shout out to John Hassemere
on
our show.
Yeah, he hooked me up with that one. That was fantastic. Him, and then the guys there's a band called A Continent Named Coma, and then Rocket Stedman. They're like band house. I'm friends with a lot of the guys.
I just played a show with The Continent Named Coma. They're great.
They're incredible. Yeah, I love those dudes. And then so we did it at Tristan and Paul's house.
Nice, very
Tristan,
cool.
Paul, and Brock. Yeah,
very cool.
And we just like showed up there. John called a bunch of friends, and everyone just showed up real last minute. Like was super willing to help out. Like it was a ton of fun.
That's awesome. Let's see that now.
Yeah.
Shout out Futuristic. I go by Etc. Hope you dig this. Here we go.
I'm like a ghost in the room. Nobody knows who I am, so you know got something to prove and nothing to lose. Holding my hope in the palm of my hand, carefully true, so adapt to the fear of the room. Beat on the beat till it's black and it's blue. Watch for the nodding heads, hands in the air, so I know that you approve. Found my teeth in the fangs, don't give a fuck where you came. I'll be the reason you stay. I know you can feel what I say. Don't look, I hide in the pain. Burning the bridges I made. Use them to light up the way. Bright in the light of the day. Shine in the middle of hate. Laughing the look on your face. Bubbling up in a rage. Inactive activists, synapse collapses in reactive accidents. We can't come back from this redacted happiness. Undress the applicants from here. We send them back again. Shit holes for caskets, but we can't be passionate unless the fact demands an act of selfless management. Lips and back inviting grins. Hands preoccupied with tiny violins. Brooding while I brew my coffee. True, this music made me cocky. Waxing like I trained Miyagi. Won't somebody please come stop me? Rapping like I caught a body. Drop it from the tippy toppy. Watch it falling, hit the concrete. Splattermatic, keep it on beat. I cut to the chase quick. I ain't gonna come here for the payment. Stepped in to put teeth to the pavement. Wrote this shit just to prove I can flow, bitch. Hold up, let me catch my breath. Easy when my skin is blessed. No need planted on my chest. Feel no need to stop and frisk.
I got one more. Hold on.
I should probably quit while I'm ahead. My tip up and say some shit and wind up dead. Think I'm pissed, I'm talking heads. What's a man to do? Sick of cake and eating bread. I'm just trying to keep my family safe from feds. Keep those sickly ants from around the neck. Yeah, anti-phrase and disrespect. Insult to the intellect. Stupid moves to you unchecked. Circle glue to your butt crack. Red state, blue state, no one gives a fuck. Just drink the Kool-Aid. Too fake, too pay, too late. We still hate what you made. You think you make planets move with it shit. You take tiny hands on giant snowflakes. Angry that they're hungry while we eat our steak up blood, take go plate. We think we're unique and safe from the trappings of history. So we just carry on into disbelief. I'd say okay, long as you're okay with me, right?
Music, like any art form, can easily be taken for granted. Mozart was the first independent artist to ever be paid for a commissioned musical composition. That would have been sometime around 1785. Since that first transaction, music has been a form of artistry that rewards composers and writers for their talent. Today's young bands hold lofty ambitions of making a career out of music, but with an unlimited amount of free entertainment options, live show and concert attendance is flat, and there is an irreversible decline in the desire to buy music to own. Younger generations still want to listen to music, but have been conditioned to believe it should be free, forcing the question we're all thinking but are too scared to ask. What would happen if artists couldn't afford to create new music anymore? What would happen if the music just stopped? I'm Damon Evans, founder and CEO of Arena Music. Arena Music is the most innovatively disruptive business model the music industry has seen since Napster. It stands alone from other platforms that solely rely on subscription revenue by leveraging free music streaming to attract the listeners we convert to merchandise customers. Arena was formed by working backwards into the solution. We started by saying we want to pay artists a full penny per stream. Then we set about the task of figuring out just how that could be done. When you hear about an artist streaming 10 million tracks on Spotify, or that an album has been in the top 10 at Pandora for 2 weeks, it sounds like a really big deal, but you have to understand how paid subscription services work. From every monthly $10 subscription payment, the platform keeps $4 for overhead, leaving just $6 to be divided between all the tracks streamed by that user in a 30-day period. It's a little-known secret that the most commonly used streaming services are either financed by the major labels or in some way partnered with them. So all this really means is that the deck is beyond stacked against independent artists. It's easy to guess which tracks and titles will get the lion's share of that remaining $6. As a result, artists are struggling to manage the decision between growing their fan base by streaming their music or monetizing their content through some other means while limiting when and how their music is streamed. This is why we say music subscription services are where musicians go to die. This is clearly evident in the fact that not one single subscription platform in existence today, whether publicly traded or financed through multiple rounds of venture capital, has ever turned a profit. Subscription revenue alone simply cannot advance music creation. Arena Music is an on-demand merchandising storefront that leverages a free streaming service to help artists monetize their content in an industry where consumers no longer buy music to own. Arena Music is the first merchandising platform built on the concept of fair pay for artists and free play for listeners. By leveraging music as a loss leader, Arena is helping artists and labels redirect consumer attention to exclusive merchandise offerings. What makes Arena unique from all existing streaming platforms is its ability to monetize an ecosystem with outside industry revenues. Arena's merchandising service also manages the bulk merchandising needs for touring bands, as well as nationally recognized brands who sell soft good products in the automotive, medical, and outdoor sports industries. Being this diversified has allowed us to give music consumers what they want, an ad-free and commercial-free subscription option, while paying artists and labels the highest rates in the world for music streams and merchandise sales.
We're back here with ETC. We're back here on the NPR. No, sorry. So it seems like you have a little bit of a running theme in a lot of your music of mental health awareness and sort of advocacy. Where does that come from?
A lot of it actually comes from my own process of dealing with my own mental health and anxiety and stuff. Anxiety, depression. So I deal with more of like seasonal and situational depression than I do clinical. The primary reason I know that is because my wife is diagnosed with a clinical depression, and the difference between the medication makes for her and that because I've tried medication for myself as well and it just didn't work out. But medication's like night and day for her. Me, I just need like, if I have a plan, if I have steady exercise and meditation, I'm good. But if I cut those things out of my life, I spiral super hard. And when I'm spiraling, one of the things that has ended up being one of my favorite avenues for recovery has been writing.
Okay.
So all the stuff that you hear in those songs are genuinely just like, this is what I'm actually experiencing. I don't know what else to do with these emotions. I don't know what else to do with what I'm feeling or how to recover or how to jump out of it. But I know what I'm feeling, so I can talk about it.
Here it is. Take it from me.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's kind of just like I'm just trying to get it out. You know, like that's the main objective.
So it's pure catharsis. It's a push towards just expelling those bad feelings.
It is both that, and it is also my attempt to remind other people that are going through that they're not alone in that. Because one of the symptoms of depression is to isolate yourself. And to believe in your mind that you are truly alone in that situation, and that other people don't want to help you, or if they can't help you, or they don't want to help you. And so the idea that my music what I'm trying to do in that music is be so honest that the person who's listening to it says they actually do understand what I'm feeling. Like, I am actually not the only person who feels these things, and can really grab onto that and use that as kind of like a lifeline for themselves, you know?
Yeah, I've seen that, and I feel like that's become a trend with rap nowadays, and I'm really I'm for it.
Yeah,
same. I want this to be a continuous thing, because at the end of the day, it's all we've got is each other, and that's probably a lot of what your song focuses about, if I'm interpreting it correctly.
Yeah. So the chorus, which was actually co-written by Hiram Hernandez, the hook on it is it goes, all alone, losing clarity. There's a line that says, lock the door and leave the lights on. That line is specifically in reference to kind of like when you're going through the worst of that depression, for me anyways, I tend to really kick out at the people around me and just kind of almost check the tires, you know, like are you
still
actually
there?
yeah, exactly. Like, are you actually, if I turn into an asshole, do you still love me? You know, which is not a conscious decision. I don't decide to do that kind of stuff, but that's definitely
it's
something
one of
I've
those
learned about myself.
self-defeating behaviors.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm really fortunate in the sense that I'm surrounded by people who do genuinely love me. And my wife is a massive support for me, and my family. I've got a lot of friends who have similar struggles and stuff, who understand what that's like to go through that kind of stuff. And so, So the chorus of that song, "Lock the door and leave the lights on," is kind of the idea of when you're in that headspace, you want to push everybody out, but you also still want people.
You want them to know that you're there. It's it's like hiding from the trick or treaters without turning your lights off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a really good way of saying it.
Yeah. No, I definitely got that from the song, because you talk a lot about it, about how you go through the different behaviors that are going to try to push people away, while at the same time it's not. I just appreciate that you have that cognizance, that you can see that in yourself and push towards better things.
Yeah, and that is that's a big thing that I try to advocate for as well, is recognizing that you have the problem. Do you know who Peter Rollins is? He's a philosopher.
I believe I've heard of him. I don't know if I've heard any of his works.
There's another Peter Rollins who's really famous in the music world, but this one, he's a philosopher, and he had this. I was listening to him on a podcast one time where he was talking about how people would get mad at him for making them feel depressed, about talking about depression and talking about the struggles that he had and stuff like that. And he's like, well, you're not. What he explained was, he's like, you're not feeling depressive because of what I'm saying. You're already depressed. I'm just bringing it to your attention.
Showing you that it's there.
Exactly, yeah, and that's really kind of like some of the stuff that I want to do. I obviously, like what you touched on. I do talk a lot about social justice issues and that kind of thing as well. There's a lot of that reference in the one take video, but when it comes to mental health and that kind of thing, I really just want to. Well, with everything, I just really want to have the conversation. I think like nothing's going to change what social justice or mental health or anything like that.
No, nothing without the talk.
Exactly. Until you have the conversation, until all the information is laid out on the table. And I think part of the problem that we have in both of those avenues is that a lot of the times people will have the conversation, but they don't know what they're talking about,
or they don't know where to go from there.
Exactly. Like you can mental health is a little bit different. Like as soon as you start the conversation, you've already begun the process. Yep. Social justice is a little bit different, you know. Oh, yeah. But yeah. So I want to be a part of that conversation. That's what I'm trying to do.
Very cool. Let's see Focus next. I really like that song.
Thanks.
Autopilot. Hope that no one knows what's going on behind my eyelids. Lights and sounds have never been so violent. Iris huge, I light the room more violet. Eyes wide, searching for some corner I can find some peace and quiet. Hew the room in two just to climb inside the music. Might have went too far and sliced it stupid. Float a boat inside the mind of Cupid. Ride that wave just because I like the movement. Scar my inner ear with dirty Q-tips. They sold me hope, packaged and prepaid, labeled it a nuisance. Told me I could use it to make change, maybe make it great again. Maybe make the light wait again. Help me pay my dividends and introduce me to a whole new group of friends. Ah well, guess it's just here we go again. I apologize for giving in to fiendish hype. Sold myself a lie knowing it was patronized. Come on. Well, I apologize for giving in to fiendish hype. Sold myself a lie knowing it was patronized. Tailor size to keep the meat in line. We all know we ain't the prize. We see this kind of thing happen all the damn time. Don't trap, never lean. Won't try knowing me, 'cause that'd be the last thing before my eulogy. Maybe we should try different means of reaching peace, 'cause I can't seem to eat or sleep. Static stream monotony through day jobs and touchscreens. Good luck, my little black sheep. I know that it's still hard to see. Blinded by the fading fleece, surrounded by the similar. Deep inside the sepulcher, yeah, you were quick and clever, but it was swift and cleverer. Shattered the shelter of whatever the weather and exposed the bones below our home, buried deep beneath pleasure. Come on. All I see is you and I, quick appeal to Father Time. Please supply some furlough, seems to be a decent fellow. Despite his sticky hands and apparent love for low blows, I was acting loco, made a meal for patient lobos. Quickly went the way of dodos. Oh no, seems to me we need to be more thorough. Post is slow, but clearly there are thoughts within, diligent in observance. Speaking in the coffins, lest we intune the very subjects of the humble offerings. Leaky streams of consciousness, spilled without a pad or pen. Spoken to an audience of bodies without oxygen, floating, don't know where it ends. Guided by a careless wind, stuck inside your ear until you clear it with a javelin, or drown it in your favorite gin. Is it poison or medicine? I believe they lock the truth behind a Cheshire grin, and they won't let us in. And they won't let us in. Post a job for decomposure, compose a lot for the exposure. Don't know why, I just supply the vultures with enough ammunition to make carrying the nations. Filling hospitals with patient patients. Every victim faceless, every number nameless. Every power pusher blameless for the lives they've taken. But now the giants move beneath the pavement. Live on the scene and we demand a statement. You've been king for long enough and we decree a state shift. Your seat is better vacant. We come like Joshua to seize the land of Canaan while you stay complaining. Money, hunger, while we've been stuck just plain hungry. You wipe our noses like you think they're runny. Buried to our necks in loans and you think it's funny. Yeah, we patient but just a stone's throw from getting bloody. Trust me, buddy.
An ad-free and commercial-free subscription option, while paying artists and labels the highest rates in the world for music streams and merchandise sales.
And we're back. So I want to talk a little bit about a collaboration you did with Eddie Wells of the Dropout Kings and various other projects. A song called Charlotte.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Charlotte was done obviously or it was initially written and named after what happened in Charlottesville, with the white power rallies and that woman who got hit by the car, Heather Heyer. Yeah, so it was written in response to that event, basically, just because like it's hard not to talk about seeing all the different things that are happening in our country right now, especially with like politics and you know, with social
general
justice.
chaos.
Really, like honestly, like just the way that you're kind of seeing the breakdown of what it means to be a person in another person's eyes. Like you're seeing this creation of the other so extremely. Rather, I should say, I'm
the
starting
in-group
to
and the
become aware
out-group.
of it.
Yeah,
exactly. Like more than anything, I'm becoming aware of it. Like it's always been there. I just have been unaware for most of my life.
As a lot of us have been, honestly.
Yeah. Well, so actually one of the, you mentioned Poetic Soul as one of the places that I've done a lot of performances. Actually, that was a really big eye opener for me as well, and in contributing to the writing processes for things like Charlotte, and collaborating with Eddie Wells and trying to involve more, not just like the problem with being a white person in rap is that rap is black music, and so like you have to take that into account when if you're jumping into this venue or jumping into this avenue and stuff. And so when I went to Poetic Soul, that was one of the first opportunities I had as an adult white man to go into an environment where I was not the dominant presence. It was the first time I'd been really not just a part of, but also welcomed and a part of a community that was not my own. And I didn't realize that I'd never done that before until I was in that space and I felt how weird it was. Because it's just not normal, you know. Like I didn't realize that the demographics of our country are so skewed until I started.
Strange, right?
Yeah, like
I mean, sorry.
You're right though. But there's not a true representation in everyone's life, like of different cultures. We have these snapshots from media and entertainment and stuff that we think are actual representations of culture, but really they're just caricatures, just like what we see of our own culture.
Of course, yeah.
But it's really hard to see that until you step out of it. You know, it's like the fish. A fish doesn't know that it's wet because it's always
in water. Yeah.
Yeah, and so going to events like Poetic Soul really kind of opened my eyes to this fact that like we need to have more conversations about these kinds of things. And I think one of the things that I've learned diving into issues of social justice is that like I used to when I didn't know anything, I would just basically just walk up to black people and be like, "What's happening?"
Yeah,
you know, like
tell me.
Yeah, like what am I not seeing? And obviously that didn't go well. You know,
I have a funny story about that actually. I have a good friend named Roman, and he's a local comedian.
Yeah.
Shout out to Roman. He's amazing. He's hilarious, and he's very understanding. I'll be honest with you. In college, I met him, and we had performed some shows and stuff. And I'm not good with lingo. I don't really know slang very well.
Yeah, sure.
I'm bad about it, and I had no idea what the hell ratchet meant. Just no clue.
Right on.
And so there was a performer there who kept using the term, and I was so confused. And I was like, Roman, help, please. Like, I don't understand. And he's like, oh, he explained it to me. And, and I was like,
he was patient with you.
Thank you. Because I was absolutely lost in it.
Yeah.
But I mean, just the whole fish out of water concept you spoke about earlier. I went to go to the AZ Hip Hop Festival this year to see Good Samaritan.
Yeah.
And what an environment.
It was
a different
culture. Yeah.
Electric.
It's a different culture.
beautiful, and the just the community is amazing, and how accepting they were of Cody and Good Samaritan. Loved his music.
Yeah,
Everyone there.
very supportive group. Yeah, very supportive.
The hip hop scene period is amazing out here.
It's incredible. I mean, I almost exclusively listen to local artists now. Like I listen to.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, like I listen to. I have like favorites that that I still follow and stuff, but like because I love the culture of what they're doing, and also they're just incredible artists. Like there's Deli Every Day that we talked about earlier.
I want to get him on the show.
Yeah, it would be incredible to see him on here. Dobie Dope is another one of my favorites. PK the Poet, the Fonzarelli Project. I could go for a while. Like there is an immense talent pool in Arizona right now. But what I was saying about like diving into issues of social justice and stuff is
in the conversation.
Yeah. So I realized that one of the things that I noticed when I was trying to have conversations with people online, like trying to like help them understand the role that they were playing in issues of white supremacy and like the prison industrial complex and like just a lot of the problems that are like regular for people of color, but like that we just don't really see too much of. And I realized that when you're sharing hard truth like that, it has to come from a source that the person trusts.
Yeah.
And if the person has a problem with black people, they're not going to hear black people say it. They're not gonna hear that person sharing their truth as truth. They're going to be, oh, you're just complaining, or like how you see so often, like why don't you just stop resisting the police? Like then it's not an issue. Like you get that type of comment because they can't hear it. They don't trust that source.
Well, they don't comprehend it. They've never lived in it. They don't understand.
There's a lot that goes into it. So basically what I took away from that though is that I have the avenue to have that conversation just because of my skin color. And because of that, I feel like it's an obligation, but it's an obligation that I want to embrace. That like, it's my prerogative.
We should all want to embrace it.
Exactly. But it is hard though. I will say, like, just being completely honest, coming face to face with my own role that I play in all of those issues is unsettling. Like you start to realize like if you want actual change, you need to make sacrifices, and those sacrifices require you to be uncomfortable, and nobody wants to be uncomfortable. Yeah. And so like, but they're like, the thing that's interesting that you hear a lot in those conversations is like equality is not like stealing from like the superior group. It's rebalancing the equation so that we can all succeed.
Yeah, so that we're all,
But establishing that equality feels like something is being stolen from that superior group. And so that's why you have to have that conversation with them. You have to be like, no, like, you're still going to be okay. Like, but now everybody is going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, you're worried about being hungry for a day or two. They've been hungry for a month. Like you have to like be like, you have to have that conversation. And unless that conversation comes from a source that person can trust, I don't think you can have it. So that's what I try to do.
You have to have some sort of representation of self to see yourself in it.
Yeah. And the reason I recruited Eddie Wells to jump on that song with me is because I know those are a lot of issues that touch on his heart as well. Like, it's really important to him. And I wanted to involve someone who spoke from that community in a more personal level on a subject that I felt was important, So
that, and Eddie is just one of the coolest guys.
Also, he's so just dope
nice.
As fuck.
He's super cool.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt that he's just an incredible person. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the other tracks that you're performing today.
Yeah. So the other two are a little bit more low key. I have this one. I have a really slow song called "Stuck" that is a lot more on the subject of mental health and stuff. I think the song "Focused" came from like in the middle of this of like starting to figure out that I was struggling.
Okay.
And "Stuck" is where I was at, where I me and you have been talking about the Enneagram and going back and forth about like our own structures for how we deal with our mental health. "Stuck" was where I was when I was figuring out now I know I have a problem. What do I do with it now?
Okay.
Like "Stuck" was basically just me addressing the fact that I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know anything beyond that.
So speaking of the Enneagram, let's talk about that because you got me into it. I bought the book.
Yeah.
I've been reading it. It's really eye-opening. How did you come upon this?
I came across it in a podcast, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was listening to a podcast called the Liturgist Podcast, which was it's for people who it's for everybody, but people like myself who grew up in the church. Yeah, exactly. People who grew up in the church who like really like fell in love with spirituality, but have kind of like fallen out of religious structure.
Okay.
But are still kind of like looking for that type of thing. It's a podcast for those type of people.
Okay.
But they had this episode where did work about the Enneagram and just kind of like self-understanding and stuff. And so basically what it is like the really simplified explanation for the Enneagram that does it no justice at all is that it's a personality typing tool. But what it really digs into is like emotional motivation.
Oh yeah,
And
that was one of the biggest parts I read in the book that I was excited about, was that need from childhood not being met, becoming your fear.
Yeah, becoming your fear and becoming also like the filter through which you see everything else.
Yeah.
It kind of goes down to like root structures of personality, so that you can use it as a tool to understand how you took certain routes you did in your life and why you chose one avenue over another, or why certain things are challenging to you and other things aren't. And it's also a great tool for recognizing that as different as we all are as human beings, we all are very similar as well.
And we all have a piece of each other within us. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's got a little bit of everything.
They say that all 9 points or whatever are involved in everybody's psyche at certain points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been very eye-opening. Did you ever find out definitively what number you are?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I am a textbook 9 on the Enneagram. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sitting between 2 and 7 at this point.
2 and 7 are fun.
Yeah.
My wife is a 2. My mom is a 7. So I know.
Interesting.
I've done a lot of reading on both of those types. Yeah. I think that the biggest tool that the Enneagram's given me though is like it has that collection of like red flags. You know, where it's like if you start to experience these symptoms, it's indicative of you going through a negative spiral. You're regressing.
That's the part I'm excited to get into next, honestly.
Yeah. Well, the reason I think that stuff is so important, and the reason I love it so much, is because when you are regressing or when you are spiraling, you don't recognize it at first.
No.
You're just in a bad mood or whatever, or like you're just having an off day, or like it's just what happens to me a lot is I'm just like, this is just how I always am, even though I'm not always that way.
This is genetics. This is my life.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Like I'm just an angry person, even though I'm not that type of person. But when I'm spiraling, it feels that way. And so having it written out, like clinically explained to you, like this is what you're experiencing, this is why, and then also this is what you can do to change it. So like that's what the Enneagram is supposed to be. Is it's supposed to be the tool that you grab onto that kind of like it helps you orient yourself when you've been spiraling and spinning and like chaos and nothing, and then you let go of it because like you realize what you were supposed to be from the beginning.
Okay.
That's what it tries to point you towards, the thing that you've been aiming at your whole life.
Honestly, I'm excited to continue to pursue the knowledge on it because it's something that I feel like I might be able to grasp onto.
Yeah. Oh, it's easily accessible. You don't have to have any kind of like deep understanding of psychology or counseling or even of yourself. Like you start to learn those things. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So let's talk about the last one because we heard a little bit of it earlier. It's a love song.
Yeah. So the last one is going to be
It's
called "Beautiful Woman."
Okay.
It's for my wife.
Okay, I heard that one earlier today on your Facebook page, I think.
Yeah. I posted a little clip of the hook on that one. And so that one was a song that I've been trying to write since we've been dating. This month actually is our 4-year anniversary for getting married. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Congratulations. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm pretty excited. So I've been trying to write that song since we started dating, and I'm really crappy at writing things that aren't sad or angry.
Love songs are so hard.
It's difficult, man.
I've spent my entire musical career trying to write a love song and make it work, and it's
hard, man. But this was the first love song I've written, and it happened like when it finally clicked. I wrote it in like a day. Like I found the music that I wanted it to go to, and like all I had was like a single line popped in my head when I was listening to the track.
Inspiration.
Exactly, yeah. And then it just kind of like fell out. But I had been trying to write that song for like over 4 years, and it like every time I sat down to write something, like literally nothing would come out.
What do you say that hasn't been said?
Exactly.
That's my always my biggest thing is my anxiety of falling short on something like that is
because you wanted to be special.
So intense. Like I remember writing songs in high school and going, wow, that sounds like a 3 Days Grace song. I think I'm gonna put that over here. I'm done.
Yeah.
So what do you have coming up? What do you want to do next? What do you want to do going forward?
Yeah. So my goal for this year is my plan from the initial release of the one take video has been, once I get 5 songs released, which I'm planning on doing the 5th song this month. once I have 5 songs released, I'm going to start doing live performances. My goal is basically to build like a set that I could do so that people could be at least slightly familiar with what I was performing live. I'll still mix in a bunch of stuff that like hasn't been released yet, but just for the live, just for the sake, because I tend to enjoy shows more if I'm familiar with the material, even if I don't know it exactly. You know, yeah. So that's my plan, kind of just for the rest of this year, is just kind of just keep making music, keep releasing content. It's more a labor of love than it is like a desire to see any particular goal accomplished.
It's not a career path at this point.
It is and it isn't. Like, I love it a lot, and if it panned out, I'm putting in the work. I'm creating the content. I'm releasing it. I'm advocating for it. So if it gains traction and it runs somewhere, then that's awesome. If it doesn't, then I hope that at the very least it'll make some kind of impact in my community and do the things that we were talking about earlier of starting the conversations on mental health and social justice and opening more eyes than it's closing.
Well, I mean, I am definitely hopeful for your path forward, and I will support you entirely on it, because I love the message, I love the presentation, and I believe in you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So it was great having you, man. Thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. Good talking.
Yeah.
I can't ever seem to change, even when the pressure's on. I just do the same things, failure's someone else's fault. I can feel my brain slip, overtired, overdrawn. Promise I don't hate you, I'm just bad at making calls. See, I can't ever seem to change, even when the pressure's on. I just do the same things, failure's someone else's fault. I can feel my brain slip, overtired, overdrawn. Promise I don't hate you, I'm just bad at making calls. Trying to figure my life out, good grades, dropped out. Don't speak the same in my head now. New name, different route, switched the game too many times now. Static dreams, now the fire's out. No sleep even with the lights out. Good God, I'm so tired now, cause it don't feel the same when I vomit all these views I buried in my brain. From my subconscious, I'm still dumb enough to feel the pain. No hearts in coffins, yeah, the truth is I might be insane, if I'm honest, because I can't ever seem to change, even when the pressure's on. I just do the same things, failure's someone else's fault. I can feel my brain slip, overtired, overdrawn. Promise I don't hate you, I'm just bad at making calls. See, I can't ever seem to change, even when the pressure's on. I just do the same things, failure's someone else's fault. I can feel my brain slip, overtired, overdrawn. Promise I don't hate you, I'm just bad at making calls. Fuck this depression, all I wanna do is barely function. I ain't tryna lose to the cosmic engine. Force down food till my body gets it. We gon' see it through to the bloody exit. Ain't no other time better than the present, cause at the end of the day it's all that we're left with. Bitter or not, I still count my blessings. Ain't nobody care about your lyrics till you make it, but by then it doesn't really matter what you're saying. Starving for attention, grow antennas for our shapeshift. Spoken to the void so long I don't know how I made it. I can't ever seem to change, even when the pressure's on. And I just feel the same things, failure's someone else's fault. I can feel my brain slip, overtired, overdrawn. Promise I don't hate you, I'm just bad at making calls. I can't ever seem to change, even when the pressure's on. I just do the same things, failure's someone else's fault. I can feel my brain slip, overtired, overdrawn. Promise I don't hate you, I'm just bad at making calls. Was strangled by the absence, so I put down roots in silence. Pray my children fight it so they don't turn out like I did. Stuck in a spiral, spin my wheels out from behind my eyelids. I've been down so low so long, I'm dapping up Poseidon. And I just wanna feel something, feel something. I just wanna feel something other than this. I just wanna feel something, feel something. I just wanna feel something other than. I can't ever seem to change, even when the pressure's on. I just do the same things, failure's someone else's fault. I can feel my brain slip, overtired, overdrawn. Promise I don't hate you, I'm just bad at making calls. See, I can't ever seem to change, even when the pressure's on. I just do the same things, failure's someone else's fault. I can feel my brain slip, overtired, overdrawn. Promise I don't hate you, I'm just bad at making calls.
Shared a first kiss sat beside a canyon. Smiled so wide, there's no way that I could hide how you fix me when I'm feeling like I'm damaged. You're the one that I desire, ain't no other God that can come between us and our marriage. Yeah, feel it deep inside like a river made of fire. We gon' be the greatest parents. You're the apple of my eye, ain't no point in trying to lie. I'll be with you till I perish. Yeah, I'm a cheesy kind of guy, I got hella sappy lines, but I know you love to hear it. I will love you till I die, till they bury me alive. You will be the one I cherish. Cause even when life feeling like I'm in a vice, yeah, you bring out the best in me. Always by my side, bringing meaning to my life, yeah, you bring out the best in me. Even when life feeling like I'm in a vice, yeah, you bring out the best in me. Always by my side, bringing meaning to my life. We're singing, no, look out below. Never had a reason to be taking it slow. Ain't no other way to do it, so you know we're faithful to it. Gonna quiet all our fears to the depths we go. We're singing, oh, oh, look out below. Never had a reason to be taking it slow. Ain't no other way to do it, so you know we're faithful to it. Gonna quiet all our fears to the depths we go. Yeah, wife, you are the secret to life. Love to hear you laugh, to be the reason you smile. You are my type, look at the depth of your mind. Love the way we do this like our souls are aligned. Cause you bring out the best in me. Even when life feeling like I'm in a vice, yeah, you bring out the best in me. Always by my side, bringing meaning to my life, yeah, you bring out the best in me. Even when life feeling like I'm in a vice, yeah, you bring out the best in me. Always by my side, bringing meaning to my life, yeah. Ain't nobody like you. Ain't nobody like you, ain't nobody like you, ain't nobody like you, yeah. Ain't nobody like you, ain't nobody like you. So you deserve the world, you deserve the world. Ain't nobody like you, ain't nobody like you, ain't nobody like you, yeah. Ain't nobody like you, ain't nobody like you.